Hello, Jeff Price here. I got a new and interesting project for you. It's called a stuffed animal jail. You can kind of see why it's called a jail. This full of stuffed animals here. Let me show you what it looks like without the stuffed animals. It's made of a red oak frame. You can choose whatever wood you want for this device. It's got a top, a bottom. Notice that there are pins here in the bottom. We'll show some more of the detail later. And then bungee cords are stretched from the top to the bottom, and that's what makes it look like a jail and what keeps the animals in the frame. Here's the frame without the bungee cords. Here's a better view of the pins that are in the bottom, and there's a similar set of pins underneath the top here. Notice how the top is made like a picture frame, 45 degrees, both the top and the bottom. And then we've got corners inserted here. So I've got dimensions and everything for you. Here's a kind of an isometric of the overall device. I made it 24 inches by 24 inches. Turns out to be about 25 and a half inches tall. None of these dimensions are really critical. You see the pins here, more detail on how to do that coming up. Let's start with the four corners that go into the device. They're 24 inches long, okay? They are 2 inches on the outside, and they are glued together through 45-degree cuts on the 2-inch wide material to get this corner shape. These corners are formal required, and they're made of 3/4 inch material. So basically all of this is made out of 3/4 inch material. Now there's also side rails that go on the sides of the channels. And here's a detail of how that's done. These have 5/16" holes drilled in them, four of them on each side rail. There's 16 side rails required, 8 on the top, 8 on the bottom. And these are drilled 5/16" diameter to accept 5/16" pins. And it's drilled 7/16 to a half inch deep. That gives a little bit extra space to be able to accept the 1.5 inch pins. Here are the channels that we make for the top and bottom frames, and a detail of how to do that. So we take those side rails that are pre-drilled, we put one on each side, and we get the pins in between. Glue these down. Here are the side rails. Glue them down. This is a 2 1/4 inch wide. That's a 3 3/4 inch. Okay. And these rails are glued on there after putting the pins in. The pins are 1.5 inches long, 5/16 inch diameter, just like I've said. And so this is how that assembly looks. So I hope that you'll enjoy making this along with me. I had a good time making it. I know my grandkids are going to love it when they get it. And I'll show you how to do this. We'll head right out into the shop. That's where the fun part starts. See you over there. I've got the corners here, one of the corners of the stuffed animal jail here. And look, I've already put a 45-degree on them. Turns out this is kind of hard to try and get this clamped. It's just a little awkward. All right, so I made a little jig. I made a couple of little jigs to help me do this. So here, I've got some pieces, some small pieces that'll help you see how I did this, okay? And it's real simple. I made sure that two of these were very square. That's where this is going to go into the square part. And put down these strips. I just used a nail gun and
Brad done and nailed them down. I put 3 sides on it. I could have put a 4th, but by the time I put in a little block here in the center, then that seemed to work really well. Seemed to be enough support. And so I made 2 of them, one for the bottom, one for the top, and this will just hold it temporarily while we glue it, okay? So these are gonna go in like this. And we're going to then use zip ties to secure them. And I'll show you how that works. So let's get busy. We'll put some glue on here and I'll glue these together and clamp them up for you and show you how it's done. I don't want too much glue here because I don't want glue squirting out everywhere like gluing the thing down to my temporary blocks here, something like that. So I'm gonna be real careful about how much glue I get on here. I don't want any right down here at the bottom because it'll run out and glue itself down to the blocks. So this isn't too bad. This is maybe just a little bit more glue than I need. Glue that comes out on this side, that can be sanded off. This is going to be harder here on the inside. So I'm going to work on that as we go. All right, so I've got it glued here, got glue on it into the little jig I made. All right. Then I'll put the top on it here. Couldn't see that, I know, but I got it on there, okay? Just like that. And that just holds it while I work on it. So I'm going to, first of all, clean glue out of this crack as much as I can. Now I'm gonna squirt more out when I tighten this up. So I'm gonna try to get it cleaned as I go, all right? And we'll see how we do here. So I'm just gonna start by putting one down here at the bottom. One block, and I made these little blocks so that this makes a square. And then I'm gonna put my zip ties on here. Now, if you don't know, you can reuse a zip tie by putting a blade in the little clasp there, and the thing will open up, right? So I'll start here, put a block in, pull it up tight, and you can see how that clamps it down well, tight as I can get it. And then I'm gonna put another one after I make sure things are clean here. I'm put another one at the top. I'm gonna go ahead and take the top and bottom off the jig. Take those off, and then you can look at the nice edge that we have here. So I'm gonna let that dry. I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished, when it dries. So I'm getting ready to drill. I've got to drill 16 of these. This is a scrap piece that I've done that I'm going to test with. It's going to be my master also for making sure that the measurements are correct. So what I've got here is I've got this marked, got the distance from the end and the 3 3/4 spacing and so forth. I want to get the 4 holes in here, so I've got it marked exactly where I want the 4 holes horizontally. Now to get it correct depth-wise, I marked a 1/2 inch down right here, and I set my drill bit not to go below that. Then I've got a mark where I can line up a mark here, and the drill lands exactly there. Finally, I've made sure that that piece of scrap that I've got there is going to give me exactly a half an inch from the edge, okay? Exactly half an inch from the edge. So I've got that set there. I don't know how well you can see it, but I've got it set so it goes exactly a half an inch from the edge. Now I'm ready to go ahead and drill my test piece. You can see this test piece isn't exactly an inch wide, but that's okay. We'll measure it from the edge to make sure it's a half an inch. And my other pieces are exactly an inch wide. That'll leave a half an inch on each side. All right, so that's how it looks. Let's check the half inch distance there, and you can see that hole is right on a half an inch right here. All right, so I will get 16 of those made. All right, so for the top and bottom rails here, I've gone in and I have made 16 of these, duplicated these. Symmetrical on either end, from either end, and there are 4 holes here. These are going to hold pins when I get through gluing this all together. And I've spaced it so that the spacing here, here, and down here. Now remember there's going to be a 2-inch corner here. And so these spacings then work out to be the right spacing between these pins. This one is about 4 1/4 inches or so spacing is what that comes out to. Now from there, I've got pieces that are 2 1/4 inch wide by 24 long. And I start by gluing the ones with holes to this. Now, then I'm going to put in pins here and then glue this one on with the pins. So that makes, because this is 2 1/4, then that makes a 3/4 inch channel right here. So you got to be sure that you don't glue both of these down. Glue down one, get the pins in, and then glue down this one. So here's what they look like. See, that means simple enough. Glued down and ready to go, ready for the pins, and I'll do that next. All right, so I've got all of these ready to glue the other side on. Here is, I got these assembled just roughly. But notice then I've got a pin. Those are 1.5 inches long, that's 5/16 in each hole, right? That. So this requires 32 pins, and I've cut those out of 3/16 inch stock. Now, one thing I found out was that one of my 3/16 inch drills wasn't quite 3/16 of an inch, and I didn't want to have to hammer these in, so I found another drill to get it drilled out a little bit, and they fit very well now. And so here, this goes on here. All right. And now we're ready to glue it down, and I've got all 2, 4, 6, 8 of those with pins. I checked all my pins and everything, made sure they were all ready to go and that they all fit. I had a couple of pins that had some burrs on them I had to work on. So make sure you do that before you start putting glue on these things, okay? And it'll work out just fine for you. So I'll get those glued up and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so you can see here, I've got all of these glued up. I've got 8 of them. They have the pins in here, 3/4 inch channel, like that. Okay, and what I'm gonna do now is I've got this sanded to 150. I'll put some more sand on it later. But right now I wanna take off these sharp corners. So before I put the 45 on here and start doing this, I'm gonna take all the sharp corners off. So I have my router table set up, round over bit right here, just a little edge on that, and let's go to town. All right, so now you see the cross section is rounded on these sides. I'll just sand off a little bit of this corner inside here when I do the final sanding on this. Okay, so I've got 8 of these. I'm gonna get busy doing all 8 of them, and we'll be ready to start cutting the 45s and assembling it. Okay, so I've cut these at 45 all the way around, made it like into a picture frame. Now I've got a little bit of finishing left to do from, you know, a little glue and stuff hanging around. I put a screw, 2 screws, one this direction, and see how this one's lower and goes this direction, okay? And put those 2 screws to hold each of these in. So these 2 pieces now, the top and the bottom, just wait for the glue, get some stuff like this off of here and so forth, and we're ready to assemble it, the final assembly with the connections that go straight up from here, okay? Okay, so I've got these all glued together now. Pins are in there. I've sanded down the corners here where I put in the plugs, so forth. Okay, all together now. So the next thing to do is going to be to assemble it. And I'm going to do this by, of course, these go in here. Okay, 4 of them. And I'm going to start by putting a screw here, 1 screw in here, 1 screw in here, plenty of glue, okay, to help hold this together, because this thing's going to be you need something to keep this from like the whole thing rocking either direction, okay? So the screws will help do that, but the glue will also help cement that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the whole thing together, and then I'm going to take 1 leg out at a time to glue. So let's see how we do that. These are all sanded and everything, okay? It'll help keep down sanding for when the project construction is complete. So you can see now, got this assembled. Got it assembled like that. I'm going to come back through now, and I'm going to start putting the legs in. I'll take 1 leg out at a time, glue, screws, and the very first leg I'm going to make sure is good and square both directions as I'm getting it glued in there. The others then ought to follow just fine. All right, let's get to work. I'm getting close to finishing up the construction here now. I'm putting in screws on the top. You can see I've already put them in down here. And doing them here on the top now. drilled that deep enough so I can get a plug in there. And I want these screws kind of toward the inside here. That'll give it a little bit more leverage in keeping the thing square, rather than a little worried about it, you know, bending back and forth or something like that. But this is really coming out good and sturdy. It's not any problem. Just using 1-inch screws here. I believe that does it. We'll get some plugs in there and start sanding. Okay, so let's put a few plugs in here. Now, of course, these are 3/8-inch plugs that I have used a plug cutter for. And I put just a little glue on here. It only takes a little bit to hold the thing in. And now be sure and line up the grain. They look better when you line up the grain. Okay, we'll go over, finish that up. Okay, so for these leftover pieces of the plugs that I put in here, you can actually, if you use 80 grit sandpaper, you can sand them off pretty quickly. It takes a little bit of time though, but what I like to do is I like to use my vibrating tool. And now you just want to make sure that you don't get this dug in here. If you do dig it in a little bit, I promise you it's easier to remove that scarring than it is to remove the rest of the plug. So let's try this. All right, so you can see how that works out pretty good. A little sanding and you're done. This is 220 grit. Okay. So that's how I handle the plugs, getting them fixed up, and we'll go on from there. Okay, so I'm all done with the construction. Have a nice finish on here. You can see I've already put up some bungee cords. We'll put up a couple more, show you what's going on here. Now these cords are 20 inches, okay? They're a little bit hard to find. You can find 18 and you can find 24, no problem. 20 inches are a little bit hard, but these stretch just the right amount. You can get 24s and you can cut them off. These things you can cut and redo, but I found the 20, they work great. You might try 18 if that's all you could find. They'll have to stretch quite a bit, but they may or may not do it. So anyhow, the little rubber protector right here on the end makes this a little hard to get in there, but you just have to lay them down flat and they'll go right on under there. and we'll get them all up here. It only takes a little stretch, okay? And this is actually the perfect stretch, the 20-inch ones, okay? And you can do all kinds of stuff with this, you know. You could get ones that have a different hook on them. You could tie them yourself. I don't think it'll look very good, but lots of possibilities. And then you can see these still have some stretch, so that when you want to reach in and grab a bear, there you go. And so that's what the finished product looks like. So I hope that the animals enjoy their jail.
I hope you enjoyed that construction part. Hope your grandchildren or children or maybe your wife will enjoy one. And if your wife wants one and you don't make it for her, then send me a note and I'll think about telling you how to make a doghouse. So coming up are places where you can link to find stuff. You can find also all of the plans on my website, and you'll see the links now. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.